We are heading into the final session now. So what I'd like to do is I've got a couple of concluding thoughts here to go through that hopefully will stimulate your thinking about it and things that you will take home and consider and work with in the future. So the first of that is that we do have data, long-term data from DEQ on water quality that's coming off of various different land uses. And I've aggregated the data here for it, but if you're interested in it, you can find it by basin or by specific area in the state. And I think what's clear in here is that the highest quality water is coming off of forest land. And this isn't distinguished in their sampling, since this is aggregate, between managed forest and unmanaged forest for it. So I think we're very lucky in the state to have that high quality water that's serving most of our public water supplies and community water supplies. But as a number of people have observed in this final discussion in the report out, is that a lot of the area in those watersheds is privately owned. And I think that seemed to be a fairly standard aha moment for a lot of people. But when you look at it, essentially about 2/3 of the land in community water supplies is privately owned. And so we have to figure out, from my perspective, we have to figure out how to get along with each other in this, because everybody has an interest in maintaining this high quality water that comes from these forested lands. So in terms of concluding observations, what I heard and what we found in the report is that size, location, and geology all matter when you're trying to understand the effects of forest management activities on source water quality for it. And certainly, a small coastal watershed is going to respond differently than an Eastern Oregon watershed for it. Small watersheds are going to respond to management differently than larger watersheds, and some of that is dependent on land ownership patterns and land uses patterns. Carl Morgenstern had a nice discussion yesterday in the forest chemical panel about what they're seeing in their monitoring in terms of herbicide runoff from different land uses for it. Extent of management activities affects the impacts on water quality. And there doesn't seem to be a simple answer to that, but it looks like that something around 25% or so may be a threshold in terms of seeing downstream results. Again, that's really going to be dependent on the size of your contributing watershed and some of the morphology of it and the geology for it. Certainly the case studies, particularly the Oceanside case study, but also what we saw in Ashland, is that communication between the water managers and the forest managers is really critical if problems are going to be resolved before they really cause effects for anyone for it. And we had I think some really good examples of that communication, and we had some good examples about collaboration and partnership, both from what we saw in Ashland, where they have been able to bring an incredible amount of resources to bear to help protect that watershed. We had a very good session with Melanie Dunn from the Coquille Watershed Association, pointing out that there are resources available for land managers and water utilities to access to improve the condition of the forest lands that are draining into their watersheds. And that's something that I think we've seen a lot of activity over with the watershed councils and the soil and water conservation districts under the Oregon plan for salmon and watersheds. That's been focused primarily on fish. We can have an equivalent focus on water quality, on drinking water quality as well. And there's significant overlap between those two. So a lot of times what's good for fish is also good for drinking water. And so you've got some natural partners out there in the watershed councils and the soil and water conservation districts that are all over the state for it. And then finally, and I hate, I almost hesitate to raise this as an academic because the standard response to any question is, well, we need to have more research for it. But the fact is, we do need to have more research on this. I think Bladen made a convincing case that in recent decades, we have underinvested in these large research studies that we really need to be able to better understand how these processes work. So in the forest chemical chapter and in the discussion that I gave yesterday, we were talking about 3 studies in the Pacific Northwest. That's insufficient to have a very good understanding of what's happening with forest chemicals out there. I think Srijita, in her modeling that she's done for the Arch Cape, has really illustrated the benefit of these types of modeling to better understand the processes that are out there that are working and that may allow us to overcome some of that scaling issue for it. So I'm hopeful that people will keep involved in looking at the research, keep involved with working with partners. Hopefully this session and this conference has stimulated people to dig more deeply into the Trees to Tap report. And if that's the case, I think we will be very satisfied that this has been a benefit to the people of Oregon. So with that, I will let Mike say a few concluding words.
Excellent. Thank you, John Souter. I only have 4 things to say, but those of you that know me know that it takes me more than 4 words to say 4 things. So the first one, though, is the secret word. The SAF keyword for your CFE credits today is tap. So yesterday it was trees, today it's tap. So, trees to tap. That's our theme. The second thing I want to say is thank you. I have a little list of thank yous. First of all, thanks to John Souter and Sharon Murray for doing this conference with me. What a great team we were, and it was a lot of work, but working with great people makes a lot of work fun. So thank you both. And if any of you are looking for a great place to organize a conference, I got to put in a big word for Shannon. Really, really good person, really, really hard worker, and I think the college is going to be doing more great conferences in the future. So second thank you is to, again, John Souter and the I&R scientists for doing the Trees to Tap study. Kevin Bladen, Bogdan Strumbu, Jeff Bean, Emily Jane Davis, John Souter, and Lisa Gaines. It's a terrific team, and I don't think we could have gotten a better study. It was very well done, very thorough, a bit tricky at time, especially our steering committee was really good because we had people from all over the spectrum and they really held the feet to the fire. So it was really good. I appreciate the steering committee too. Related to that, I really appreciate the OFRI board for being willing to fund this study and to fund this conference. So it takes a lot to open up to the world to see what's going on. And I think somebody mentioned transparency. I got to tell you, this was as transparent of a study as I have ever dealt with and a report. So really good. Third, thank you to the speakers today and yesterday. I think we're really, really well done. And again, in the report, it was just about the science, but in putting this conference together, we went beyond the science into the forest management and into the water management. We had great representatives from both, also from the soil and water perspective, the watershed council perspective, the conservation group. So it was really good to get to hear all this. And then my final thank you, nope, two more, sorry, there's never, you should never say the word final. The Breakout Facilitators and Lisa Gaines. I mean, that was really good. As I said, we were a little unsure of how that part of the conference was going to work, but I got to tell you, you all really gave good input. The facilitators managed it well, and Lisa brought the best out. So I think that's going to be a real valuable part of these recordings, is looking at the breakout report out. Kind of as my very last thank you is to you as participants. You know, we had a total of 200 and some odd sign up. We had 137 yesterday, 127 today. So good turnout. You put in the time. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. And there will be follow-up. In the next few days, couple of weeks, you will be getting a survey from Shannon. Please fill it out, because we want to get better at doing this. This is real important, this outreach. And then the absolute outreach end will be, you will get opportunity to purchase the Trees to Tap book. I think that's going to be really good. And I know I can't wait to get mine. And then the very, very final, and this won't cost you because you've already paid, the recordings are going to be available. We've recorded all of these sessions, and they will be converted to YouTube, put on the Trees to Tap webpage on OFRI, put it on the conference webpage, and if Lisa's interested, we'll put it on the INR webpage, because we want people to have access to it. And it's going to be in chunks, so you won't have to sit there and listen to 8 hours. You can say, I just want to see the Ashland case study, or I just want to see the sediment thing. So good. That's my last word, John. You get the last word as the PI. And we don't mean Magnum PI. This is John Souter, PI.
Okay, and just a word about the Trees to Tap report. It is our expectation that it will be available for free to download through OSU Communications. So it's only if you want the printed book will you need to pay for it. If you want to have a autographed copy of it, get in touch. We're certainly willing to do that for it. And then finally, I would like to thank particularly Mike Clossy, but OFRI overall for their funding this study. And I could not have asked for a better and certainly more patient project manager than Mike Clossy with this. They gave us the time, they gave us enough money, although to tell you the truth, they got a great deal on it. And they gave us the independence to do this. And so I really hope that this serves as a starting point for the discussions that are both occurring right now through the SB 1602 process and discussions in the future. So I thank Mike, I thank OFRI, and I thank all of you for being involved in this process.
All right. Not bad. Only 4 minutes over. Much better. This is the closest we've ever come. So actually only 2 minutes over. I was looking at the wrong clock. So thank you all. We're going to close out and wish you a great weekend. Again, if we'd have planned this, it was supposed to be cloudy and rainy, so while we're sitting and watching Zoom. But I think you've got a beautiful weekend ahead of you. So get out there and enjoy it, and do drink the water. Bye-bye.